Good evening, listeners, and you're very welcome along to Across the Line here on Tip FM with myself, Paul Carroll. And this Friday, the 20th of March 2026, all in association with the Premier Credit Union in Thurles. And what a couple of days we've had weather-wise. Doesn't that make such a difference to everyone going around the place? But rain, hail, snow, sunshine, every Friday evening at 6 o'clock. We look ahead to the weekend's sporting action in Tipperary, and this Friday evening is no different. A big weekend of sport to come here on Tip FM and in Tipperary over the course of the weekend. Of course, tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock, we'll have full live commentary of Tipperary against Kilkenny in the National Hurling League. That is with thanks to Casey Tiles and Wooden Floors in Care. Then on Sunday at 1 o'clock, we'll have full live commentary of Tipperary against Waterford in the National Football League. Our live commentary there is with thanks to John Kennedy Motors, your main Toyota dealers in Clonmel. I said it's a big weekend of sport. We'll do our best to look forward to it all over the course of the next, next hour, of course. And just looking ahead, well, before we look ahead, we can look back already because the big weekend of sport has already gotten underway in a big way for St. Joseph's College in Bursalee. They are the All-Ireland Senior C Schools Hurling Champions, had a brilliant victory over Closh and Nave Cormac of Offaly in Bursacane earlier this afternoon, and Bursacane was looking very well for this time of the year, and they got a perfect start, as you might have heard in our news bulletin there. Cody Quirk with a goal just after 15 seconds gone. He blocked down the goalkeeper and put it into the back of the net, and a lovely finish by Micheál Ryan, bounced it low past the goalkeeper after 19 minutes. That gave St. Joseph's the good start to the game. They went 10 points up in the second half, but the Offaly side, Kilcormac-based school is Closh and Nave Cormac. They brought it back to 1 point with just 5 minutes to go, but Bursalee finished strong, 2-17 to 2-12. So we start this week's show by saying well done to all in St. Joseph's College Bursalee, All-Ireland Senior C Schools Hurling Champions. But we have a lot to look forward to, and let's get into it straight away. Joining me on the line now is Enda Treacy from the Tipperary Star. Enda, you're very welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Paul.
Looking ahead to this game, Enda, we have it's on paper a dead rubber, but as has been said during the week, there's no real dead rubber between Tipperary and Kilkenny, and Tip do have a very outside chance of promotion. You're talking of a 30-point turnaround, including a Galway win over Limerick. So it's more so focusing about maybe building momentum, getting a performance in again, and building towards April 19th, which is only 4 weeks away.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it takes a lot of pressure off that the Waterford game that we came away with a win. It would have been good in one way to get a competitive game where there was something at stake in the last game, and it can really test lads. But I think Liam Cahill was pretty happy that the job done going to the Kilkenny game with the security of Division 1A hurling in the bag. And looking at the team, he's probably still, I was expecting we were talking maybe 12 or 13 of the starting All-Ireland team to come in, but he's still changing it up a bit. Obviously, Alan Tynan at 11, Oisin O'Donoghue wing back. So he's still trying out things, which is interesting, I think. But, I think he kind of referenced it himself that they have a lot of hurling to do to catch up with other counties. So I think he'll be delighted that there's another game anywhere to go.
Yeah, I think I have it that it's 11 of the All-Ireland final team from last year. I think that's just looking at it very quickly down below, maybe 10 or 11. But I suppose the big news is there's 6 changes from the team that played Waterford last time out. You have Brian McGrath and Alan Tynan returning from injury. Conor Martin and Dara Stakelum is a new look midfield, and Sam O'Farrell and Darragh McCarthy both come in to start for Saturday evening's game in Thurles. Just on the returns from injury, Brian McGrath, very unfortunate the timing of his injury, likewise with Alan Tynan, but I suppose for Brian McGrath at the start of the year, you're kind of looking at this could be a chance for him with Ronan set to miss the first few rounds of the league earlier on, that it could be a chance for Brian McGrath to kind of put his name down for one of those defensive positions. So the timing of his ankle injury was very unfortunate, but likewise he'll be very determined, I suppose, to put his hand up here on Saturday.
Yeah, he will. He'll be delighted that he's back for it. I mean, Brian's around a good while now, and he's never really nailed down a starting spot. Brilliant club hurler. He's been fantastic for Lockmore for a long time now, and I think Liam Cahill has shown a lot of faith in keeping him there. Considering he hasn't nailed down a starting spot, there's been a lot of flux in the last 2 or 3 years, but he obviously sees the talent that he has. And full back, in fairness, Brian O'Mara had his struggles there while Ronan was missing during the league. I think maybe Liam is conscious that maybe if something happened to Ronan, we'd be a bit slack in that department. So he's probably looking at Brian as maybe an option there. But you just don't know with the way the teams are lined out. The Tip backline tends to change a lot during games, depending on the opposition. So, Brian, in fairness to him, he's a man that can cover any position in the backline. So it's a big thing for him now, and he's getting his opportunity, even if it's late in the day. Yeah,
and for Alan Tynan, a big part of Tipperary's campaign last year and years gone by, real physical, hard-working player. And he's kind of a player that you'd nearly, he's been really on the outside this year because of that injury. So to get him back and the energy he brings, that's a huge positive for Tipperary heading into 4 weeks' time.
Yeah, he's a massive player for us, Paul. I think. Look, you can take players like Alan for granted. I mean, just the energy he brings, his ability to carry ball, his ability to tackle, his tenacity in tackles. Like, he brings so much energy to that middle third that's so important in hurling, in modern day hurling. So it's great that he's back. I don't think that injury was meant to be very tough that he picked up, and we were maybe expecting him not to be seeing any league action. So for him to be back at this stage is a big plus. And it's interesting that he's at 11. I don't know if he's played at 11 for Tip since he's come in. He's obviously played in the wings and in midfield, but it's obviously something that they're looking at there.
Yeah, I think it was a shoulder injury, wasn't it, that he had suffered? So great to see him back. Another kind of not surprising, but Oisín O'Donoghue starting with the Tipperary under-20s are playing next Wednesday. We're going to be talking to Brendan Cummins a little bit later on in the show. Stephen Tobin had a brilliant game last week. Oisín O'Donoghue had a brilliant game last week against Waterford as well, but you may be expected neither of them to feature here because of the under-20s playing Cork on Wednesday evening. So to see Oisín O'Donoghue and back with the at wing back is a very interesting addition to the team, and clearly something that Liam Cahill wants to see again before they go away to the under-20s.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Paul. It's the under-20 game coming up, obviously, in years gone by, Liam would be conscious and he'd be very good for making players available that are involved in the senior squad. But considering that they're playing so close to this game, he obviously is looking at Oisín in a very serious way in that position. He did well enough against Waterford, I thought. It's hard to judge in that kind of a game with a big wind, and it's a game of two halves. But he acquitted himself well, and look, it's everyone in Tipperary knows that follows it closely. He played centre back for the Tip Minors when he was younger, so it's not alien to him at all. But probably looking for a bit more depth in that half back line maybe, and feels maybe he could get more out of him there than he's been getting from him in the forward. So it's an interesting one, and hopefully it's a good day for hurling, and we can see how he goes.
Yeah, and certainly with the way the weather has gone this week anyway, the ground will be a little bit harder and firmer and closer to what you'd expect in Championship than maybe it was in recent weeks. A quick word on Kilkenny. They're going to be coming here to Thurles. I'm sure they'll be thinking about the All-Ireland semi-final last year. Tipperary winning that game, of course, against Kilkenny. And they'll be looking for something because they had a real non-performance against Galway in Salthill, and they're going to be going there in the first round of the Leinster Championship. So this is their last game between now and then. So I'd imagine Derek Lyng will want to see something here from Kilkenny on Saturday evening.
Oh yeah, they need a response, Paul. I mean, we're around the block now a good while, Paul, listening to hurling and the successful Kilkenny teams that were around when we were growing up. I don't think I've ever known a reaction to a loss for a Kilkenny team than the one after the Galway beating that they received. It's been vicious, really. That it's not something that really happens in Kilkenny. So there's been a lot of questions around the team and the performance, and mostly around the effort that players are seemingly not putting in, and that a lot of Kilkenny supporters would have been highlighting after the game. So they'll be vicious, and this is their last game before they play Galway in Leinster Championship, and they're desperately in need of a performance to, I wouldn't say right the wrongs, but to put themselves in better fettle going into that game, and probably bury that result in Galway. Look, I think when it comes to Championship, Kilkenny always raise it a level, and they have obviously players to come back like TJ Reid, Adrian Mullen, Owen Murphy, so big players for them. They probably don't have the depth that other counties have, but when their first 15 is out on the pitch, they're still as good as anyone. So it'll be interesting. I think they'll be desperate to give a performance anyway, and no better motivator than the sight of a blue and gold jersey to do that for them.
Yeah, and because they're coming into it with that in mind and looking for that response, they'll be going hard at it here on Saturday evening. And that means Tip will have to do the same, or else you're not going to be able to live with an inter-county team going 100% if you're not going 100%. So while this is a dead rubber on paper now that we're talking about it and teasing it out, this could actually be a very good game in Thurles tomorrow.
Yeah, you seldom get a very dead damp squib when Tip and Kilkenny do meet. And look, I've obviously mentioned Kilkenny's motivation, but being Cahill, this has been a patchy enough league. Patchy performance in beating Galway, beat Offaly, okay, that's probably are too weak for the division, and a patchy performance against Waterford as well, albeit with a big win there. So, obviously consistency is a big thing. So Liam will be absolutely desperate to get another win under the belt and build some momentum going into the Munster Championship, because it's so important to get that winning mentality going into Munster, because you need absolutely every ounce that you can get going into those games. Yeah,
and another aspect as well is Liam always kind of speaks about home games and wanting to make Semple Stadium a fortress. The last time Tip were in Semple Stadium, it was anything but a fortress. It was one-way traffic for Limerick in that game, and the next time Tip will be there will be the Munster Championship first round against Cork. So I'd say that aspect is important too, to just keep that kind of home momentum and rebuild it after that Limerick game, and I suppose make that connection with the supporters that come support us here on Saturday night, and we'll be back here in a month's time against Cork.
Absolutely, and you've also the point that, look, we have a good record against Kilkenny in recent years in league and championship, and that's taken us a while to get that sort of a record after some tough years playing against them. So you don't want to be giving them any added motivation that we're beatable. So to continue that Indian sign over them will be absolutely no harm, because look, if you are to get lucky enough to get out of Munster and you play well enough, there's every likelihood that you're going to come across Kilkenny again. So that'd be absolutely no harm at all.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Saturday, 7 o'clock throw-in time in FBD Semple Stadium. And of course, you can hear it live on Tip FM with thanks to Casey Tiles and Wooden Floors Care. Enda Treacy from the Tipperary Star, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks, Paul.
Well, we're going to continue our hurling talk, because just around the corner next week is the start of the Munster Under-20 Hurling Championship. Tipperary play Cork on Wednesday. And delighted to say I'm joined on the line now by Tipperary Under-20 Hurling Manager Brendan Cummins. Brendan, you're very welcome back to the show.
Thanks very much, Paul. Thank you.
We're talking to you, Brendan, because next Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock in Thurles, you get the Munster Under-20 Hurling Championship underway. That is against Cork. A massive game, of course, but it's not kind of long coming around. We've all been kind of distracted with the National Hurling and Football Leagues and things like that in recent weeks, but it's here now, and you're less than a week away as we're talking to this game against Cork. How's it all been? And you've had players involved with senior panels and with Harty Cup panels and things like that. So how's it all coming together as we're in the final week here?
Yeah, it's been great. Things have gone well for us in preparation. Obviously, the partnership we have with the schools, with Nina going so well, and we're all gutted for the lads in Nina, the way the Kieran's game went, and of course with the senior and all that. So it's been good. The lads have been involved with the senior again. The relationship, obviously, myself and Liam has been really strong, and we're helping guys like Stefan and lads like that are working their way through the ranks to navigate the under-20 goals that we have, I suppose, and their ambition to be senior hurlers as well. So no, it's been all good, but like you said, it's really flown in. But we're all looking forward to the challenge that Cork are going to bring next Wednesday night.
Yeah, and the panel itself, you hear rumours and things like that of injuries and players being involved, players not being involved. How is it looking on the injury front? Have you got everyone available that you'd like to have available?
Yeah, we've had to delay announcing the panel because, like you said, of injuries. Now we'll do that when we announce the team on Monday night. The extended panel, I suppose, will be on that as well. So it's important to respect the clubs that are feeding these young men into us, and there is an honour, obviously, of having a player involved at inter-county level. So unfortunately, Tom Delaney, with his ankle injury picked up before Christmas, he's had to have an operation on that, so he's out. And Billy O'Brien picked up a knock just after the Harty semi-final against Thurles, so he's out for the rest of the year, although I'd expect him probably to be back with his club, please God, later on in the summer. And Robbie Ryan just picked up a knock a couple of weeks ago, so he won't be available for the first two rounds of the championship, and we're hoping that he'll be okay to recover for further down the road. But you're going to get this kind of stuff, and we're gutted for the players involved, obviously. But there's others there now that will have to stand up and fill the breach, and that's the way, I suppose, sport is. And we're just hoping the lads will have a speedy recovery.
Yeah, so say all of us with those lads. Hopefully get them back as quickly as possible. The lads involved with the senior panel, we've seen game time, of course. Stephen Tobin, as you mentioned, made his first start with the seniors last weekend. Oisín O'Donoghue, of course, is still underage this year, and we saw a lot of game time in the league for Cathal O'Reilly as well, and has done really well. But this weekend coming, Oisín is down to start against Kilkenny tomorrow evening in the National Hurling League. Was that something that you had that discussion, or how is that with Liam heading into this? I'm sure there's a posturing for position when it comes to getting the use of these players at this time of the year.
There's not. I say it all the time, and I mean it's like we nearly rent the players back off the senior team. The senior team comes first at all times. Like Jamie Ormond is back in with the seniors now as well. There, he's on the extended panel. So Oisín is obviously going to play on Saturday night, and for a young man like him, it's really exciting if you think of the last number of years that Oisín has had. Like the success he has been huge, like he has won an All-Ireland senior title, he's 2 Munsters and All-Ireland under 20, but when you meet him and you engage with him, it's like he has never won anything. So, I mean, that's the temperament that's there with these players. He'll be fine to play on Saturday night, and if he doesn't pick up a knock or anything, he'll be good to go for us then on Wednesday night. And I suppose when you're as young as these lads are, Paul, you just race through the matches. It's the adrenaline and all the excitement of these things, and it's what they live for, and it's great for them to have the opportunity to play as many games as possible.
Yeah, and obviously last year was a very successful year at the under 20 grade, winning the All Ireland final. It's a much newer panel, let's say. I think anyway, from my experience the last couple of years than let's say it was last year. I'd say it's kind of a more new look this year than it was last year compared to the year before then, I think.
Yeah, it is. There's no doubt. I think 3-4 of the lads that were on the team last year are with us again. I think about 12 or 13 or so of the panel. A lot of the players last year who had that success. But that's what I enjoy most about the job, Paul, to be honest with you, is that reset button every year. We were lucky, I suppose, to have a 2-year cycle, and now we're in a reset. And this team at under 17 level, they would have felt, I suppose, that they had underachieved. Like Cork had beaten us by 7 or 8 points below in the park, in round 2, I think it was at the time, below in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. And so they have an opportunity now to have a go 3 years further down the road. Lots of change, of course, but I think after the All Ireland final last year, again, you lose a lot of players, and then the excitement for us as a management team is to who can we develop again to get into the senior setup, and that's always the goal, really. We try our best to win, obviously, and it accelerates, as I always say, the progress of these young players and their confidence if we can get success. But it's more so to get him into the rhythm of play, and Liam gets to see him playing in games at under 20 level as well. And who knows, we might have another Paddy McCormack type figure maybe later in the year that might advance from an under 20 panel into a senior in the middle of the year. So it's all about the conveyor belts, and that's the absolute key. And I'm just hoping now on Wednesday night we put our best foot forward.
Yeah, and this must be a very kind of exciting week because when you meet up and you get the panel together first before Christmas, and it's a distant kind of goal getting to the round 1 of the Munster Championship. But now that it's here, we've actually been blessed with a bit of blue skies in Tipperary the last few days for the first time since last year, I'd say. It's a very, very kind of nice time, I'd imagine, to be involved, that knowing that there's a big game coming up on Wednesday and it's just around the corner.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. We know that last night there was the red sky over Dr. Morris, and we trained last night. The lads were buzzing around the grounds a bit harder, and they're bouncing off a bit better. The footballers are training up from us again. There's a huge buzz from there. There's a buzz from the side where the senior hurlers are training. So that fine weather, just injects enthusiasm to every county player now for the coming weeks. And at under 20 level, we get the opportunity early now to, I suppose, show what we have, and that's what the lads are all looking forward to doing now. It's great to have all the group back together now in the last couple of weeks. So it's been it's been great. And you're right, it fairly does focus the mind when you're 6 days out.
Yeah, and this Cork team, I believe Patrick Horgan is involved with the management of this Cork team. You mentioned they beat Tip of the minor grade 3 years ago. So I'd imagine it's going to be a star-studded management team from Cork. They're not going to be getting involved with teams if they for no reason. So this is kind of set up to be a really, really interesting opening round game on Wednesday evening.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt it's going to be a tough test for us. Like Barry Walsh and Barry O'Flynn and Ben Walsh and these fellas are all going to be playing with Cork. And you're right, like Donal Logue and Noel Furlong, the managers, they took over the team last year, and after we played them, they probably would have been disappointed to get another go at us because there's no doubt they improved in leaps and bounds in 2025 after we were lucky enough to get over and below Páirc Keeve and were only barely beaten by Clare in the Munster semi-final. So they have a lot of those players there, and so they're proud Corkmen, the same as we are proud Tipperary people. And as we all know, the Munster Championship is vicious, no matter it's under 17 for James and his team, or whether it's me or whether it's Liam, or any inter-county manager in Munster. I think that's what we're living for, is that adrenaline rush, I suppose, and that on the edge and not really knowing what's going to happen. And I suppose that's why we're hoping there'll be a big crowd in Thurles next Wednesday night to support us, because we will need that 16th person in the stand, I think, to do something against this Cork team, because like you say, their management team is stacked and so is their players on the pitch.
Yeah, really looking forward to this one, Brendan. I wish you and the panel all the very best of luck for the championship ahead, and we'll be talking to you on Wednesday.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Well, we just about better take a quick ad break here on this week's Across the Line, but stick around, plenty more Gaelic games and more to come after these. And you're very welcome back to part 2 of Across the Line here on Tip FM with myself, Paul Carroll, on this Friday, the 20th of March 2026. Now we're going to continue our look ahead to the weekend sporting action, turning our attention to the world of football, where Tipperary take on Waterford on Sunday at 1 p.m. in FBD Semple Stadium. That game is live here on Tip FM, all with thanks to John Kennedy Motors, your main Toyota dealer in Clonmel. The man who is going to be joining me on commentary for that game is Anthony Shelly, and he joins me on the line now. Anthony, you're very welcome back to the show.
How are you, Paul?
All good, Anthony. Yeah, looking ahead to a busy weekend of football. We've the under-20s playing on Saturday at 2 p.m. in New Inn in the Munster Championship. That is against Limerick. You can hear updates of that game on Tip FM, but on Sunday you'll be able to hear live commentary in association with John Kennedy Motors in Clonmel of Tipperary versus Waterford in the National Football League. It's a very strange division for the National Football League. Heading into the last round, 7 out of the 8 teams can get promoted. The odd one out is Waterford, who are winless in their 6 games so far in the league, as Tipperary welcome them to Thurles on Sunday. So, Anthony, it's one of those ones where a lot needs to happen now for Tipperary to be able to qualify, but they're still in with a hope, but it's certainly a long shot.
Yeah, I think it's mathematically possible, all right, but what did you refer to these situations as an improbable probability, I think is the term they use. It's just like winning the lotto. Like, I mean, so much would have to, I don't know if you've it worked out, Paul, but so much would have to go in our favour.
I can read it out, what I have as the permutation here. So for the first thing that has to happen is Leitrim need to beat Carlow. So Carlow are currently top. Leitrim are currently in 7th place. So Leitrim need to beat Carlow for Tip to have a chance. And then what else do we need? We would need a Wicklow win over Longford would be favourable, and then Antrim to beat London. And of course we'd have to beat Watford, that goes without saying. And that would leave Wicklow on 10 points, and then Leitrim, Carlow, Tip and Antrim all on 8 points. And then it would go down to score difference, and Tip would need to overturn at least 15-point score difference at the moment. So, that's what it's going to take. So, it is very improbable, as you said, but who knows?
I go back to my improbable probability there, Paul.
That didn't make it sound any more probable, no?
No. And, look, you would be hoping that we will get the 8 points, and I suppose you have to see where the cars fall after that. But I mean, that defeat last week, that a 13 or 14 point beating down in Wicklow really took our chances out of it, which was such a pity because all the other results went in our favour last Sunday if we could have got the win.
Yeah, and that will of soured notes, I'm sure, in training this week, and Niall and the team would be about getting the lads back up and ready for this game, because whether this game holds much importance or not when it's all said and done remains to be seen. But Tip will be playing Waterford in the Munster Championship in just 3 weeks' time, so good to set down a marker as well, and good for the team they're going to have to try to bounce back, because that was, by all accounts, you were there last Sunday, I wasn't myself, that it was a very poor performance.
Yeah, it was, and I suppose I wouldn't be hitting the panic button yet. We didn't become a bad team overnight. That's the first thing. And the week before against Leitrim down in Clonmel, we were outstanding. So, I remember it was last year when Shelly got arrested and brought in the Munster rugby player Dermot Barron to one of the training sessions, and he gave a little talk after it, and he said, like, when you go out in the field, like, you have to put your head in where you wouldn't put a shovel. That was the way he phrased it, and that's what was missing with us last Sunday. We seemed to lack energy. We weren't prepared to take on a man or break a line, and just were happy enough to go over and back across the field. It was like watching football from 10 years ago, and that made it very easy for Wicklow to set up against us and defend. And then when they did turn us over, they had one of those days, Paul, where everything they touched turned to gold. Where everything we were touching was turning to dust. So, but as I said, we didn't become a bad team overnight. Against Leitrim down in Clonmel, we did, in the wind, in the rain, and a miserable day down there. Like, we did put our head in where you wouldn't put a shovel, and that gave us a platform to perform. And once you do that, we have the players that can perform. There's an old saying, isn't there, that we've all heard managers in dressing rooms saying that hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. And that has to be our starting point next Sunday. Go out, work hard off the ball, get the tackles in, get the turnovers in, and once you have that done, we definitely have the talent that allow us to go and play with a sense of adventure, and maybe start making inroads on that score difference and see where it takes us. But if we turn up like we did last Sunday, and just kind of hope that it will happen rather than going to try and make it happen. We've known from bitter experience over the years, of all teams, Tipperary can't take Waterford for granted. Waterford always seem to turn up when they play Tipperary in football.
Yeah, for sure. And looking at the Tip team that was named earlier today, and Niall Fitzgerald seems to have been just saying, right lads, make right of the wrongs last week, because he's named the same team that started. So that seems to be just a case, of trying to of trusting the same players to go out and right the wrongs of that performance.
Yeah, you would imagine so. And as I said there before, like, Niall knows that we didn't become a bad team. As soon as we arrived in Wicklow last week, we have been quite good in the league all this year. We put in a 70-minute performance against Leitrim, and then in other days we've been really good for 50, 60 minutes, and kind of get punished when we don't have the ball. But yeah, I think Niall is right to go with the same team. I would have thought this time last week, I was like, I had thought we would win down in Wicklow, so I felt rather stupid when we were coming away like after 14 point wins to say on radio on Friday night that I thought we would win. But I thought last week that we had our strong, Niall had picked a really strong team, and I think he's dead right to go with the same team again.
Yeah, and an interesting note that we saw last week was Paddy Creedon's involvement. Of course, Paddy played in the pre-season with the Tip senior hurlers this year gone by, and now he's in there with the footballers, of which he had been in a few years ago. Paddy's a very physical player, just a very impressive athlete when you see him togged out, and he certainly can add a bit as well, straight back into the panel and got on the score sheet last week as well.
Yeah, when Paddy gets the ball in his hand and he's facing the opposition goal, he really is difficult to stop. I would say he's near on impossible to stop, and that's what happened to him last week. He came on when we had to win, and we were kind of, it was a strong enough win, so we had a lot of ball, and he was impressive enough when he came on. Took his 2 points. I think he got very well. So yeah, I probably would expect to see Paddy at some stage during the game, and he may, if he keeps performing, he probably would be pushing for a starting place come championship, and if not championship, certainly Tailteann Cup.
Yeah, so it's 1 o'clock on Sunday is throw-in time there in Thurles. 2 o'clock on Saturday, the under-20s, as we mentioned earlier, are playing Limerick in New Inn. This is round 2 of phase 1 of the under-20 championship. We mentioned that's a round robin between Clare, Limerick, Waterford and Tip, with the top 2 going through to a second round robin with Cork and Kerry. Tip lost to Clare last weekend, so this means this game against Limerick tomorrow is pretty much a must-win, and Limerick were beaten by Waterford last weekend, so it's must-win for Limerick as well. The Tipperary team shows 3 changes. Emmett Bonner, John Cronin and Charlie Walsh all come in place of Killian Ryan, James Power and Dylan Cotter. So this is it's fairly simple. It's pretty much must-win from here out for the under-20s.
Yeah, it's must win, and they would be disappointed with the result last week. I think this group did manage to beat Clare at minor level, but they lost by 5 points, and it wasn't that bad a performance at all. I thought the game changed. They started off fairly well. Then we lost the 8 kickouts in a row and got punished very, very heavily for it. And I think Clare went 7 points up in a 10-minute period in the middle of the first half. But if you took that 10-minute period out, it was a very 50-50 game after that. So your kickouts have become so important, Paul, under these new rules. And the easy thing to do is, if somebody hears you saying you lost 8 kickouts in a row, you say, oh, what was keeper at? I would say, in Peter Boland's defence, Peter, apart from maybe one that he'd have to take ownership of, he hit his target area every single time, and Clare just got more bodies in around the ball for the breaking ball than Tip did, and came away and punched us heavy. So that's probably one aspect of the game that we probably need to look at and improve on Sunday, is getting the bodies in around Peter Boland's kick out. And once we did that, we did play some nice football at times during that game, and it's no surprise to me to see Emmett Bonner, I think he's named the centre back, isn't he? He was really impressive when he came off the bench last Sunday, and he really took the game to Clare. So it was no surprise to see Emmett coming in for a start this Sunday. I think they'll be okay. They would have beaten Limerick, I think, by 8 or 9 points when they were at minor level. Limerick losing to Waterford last week probably raised a few eyebrows, but Waterford have a decent group at this age group, so that would be no surprise to people that would be following football that Waterford won that one. So I would see Tip, they just need to get a win, any sort of a win on the board, and then get their act together and take on Waterford in a what you could say would be a 50-50 game to see can they get to a semi-final. But I'd be confident enough that it won't take too much of an increase in performance from last Saturday to get to win this match in New Inn this Saturday.
Yeah, so that is Saturday, 2 o'clock in New Inn, and as I said, we'll have live updates from that game, so stay tuned throughout the afternoon on Saturday to hear the latest from that one. Anthony, you'll be joining me on commentary on Sunday afternoon, so until then, thanks for joining us on the show.
Looking forward to it, Paul. See you then.
Now we're going to quickly switch our attention to the world of camogie. Some big games happening for Tipperary this weekend, and to tell us about them and more, I'm delighted to say I'm joined on the line by Tipperary camogie PRO Geraldine Kinane. Geraldine, you're very welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Paul.
A big one tomorrow, Geraldine, for the Tipperary senior camogie team, 2 o'clock in the Rag. It's against Waterford, and incredibly, Waterford have won all their games. They're guaranteed a place in the league final, but 5 of the 6 remaining teams can all get into the league final, and all of the remaining teams, bar Waterford, can also be relegated, including Tipperary. So this is a really big final round of action in the camogie leagues tomorrow.
Yeah, a massive game. I suppose for all the teams. Waterford are supposed sitting pretty at the top of the table. They've had a brilliant league so far, won all their games, and have booked their place in the final. So, but it's a big day for Tip. Look, getting to a final will probably be very unrealistic. A lot of results have to go your way, but there is a danger of being relegated. Antrim are playing Kilkenny, and Antrim, if they got a win against Kilkenny, we could be in big trouble. And look, they've beaten Cork already, put up very good results or a good performance against Galway, so we can't be guaranteed that they don't beat Kilkenny. So look, we have to go out, we have to give our performance and try to get something out of this game, and you never know, if we do win, there could be a place in the league final as well. But I think a big performance is needed. There's been positives in all the games we've played so far, but we just need to cut down the mistakes and I suppose increase our scoring power, and we have a good chance against Waterford, but I suppose Waterford at this stage probably have had the better upper hand of us over the last couple of years, and they'll be looking to continue their winning way. So it's a massive game, and look, the weather's definitely taken a change in the last few days. The sun is out, and we're hoping for a big crowd in the Rag tomorrow to give the girls a extra push.
Yeah, that's Saturday 2:00 in the Rag. Then Sunday 2:00 in Cappamore. The Munster Under-23 camogie final sees Tipperary taking on Cork. Just the second year of this competition, Geraldine, but it's finding its feet, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's similar to last year. We beat Waterford in the first round and met Cork in the final. Lost to Cork last year in the final after extra time. So it would be great for this team to pick up silverware early in the year. And it's a quick turnaround out in the All-Ireland Championship then the weekend after. So, it's an important game. I suppose, All-Ireland Series, is probably more important down the line, but it's definitely important to get a good performance tomorrow. And I suppose the management haven't seen much of the team yet. They've only had one competitive game, a game that I thought they really grew into as it went on against Waterford, and you could see what they were trying to do starting coming off there in the second half, and I thought they were always in control of that game. But look, Cork are going to be a tougher challenge, as they always are, and the girls are going to have to be at their best. And again, hoping for a good crowd in Cappamore on Sunday, and give them their full support as well.
Yeah, 2:00 throw-in time there on Sunday. We wish both those teams the very best of luck. You will be able to hear updates from those games on Tip FM over the course of the weekend. Geraldine, enjoy the games. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks, Paul.
Right, we've got to take a quick ad break here on Tip FM, but plenty more sport to look forward to after these. And you're very welcome back to the third and final part of Across the Line here on Tip FM with myself, Paul Carroll, on this Friday, the 20th of March 2026. Well, let's give you a rundown on what's happening elsewhere in the world of sport in Tipperary this weekend. The AIL is back tomorrow at 2:30. In Division 1A, you've Neen Ormond on the road to Cork Con. Division 2A, Cashel are away to league leaders MU Barnhall in Leagueslip, and Clonmel are also on the road. They're in Division 2C. They're leading Division 2C, and they're away to bottom side Malahide. Reminder, all those games 2:30pm kickoff on Saturday. Of course, Munster playing 3:00 on Saturday down in South Africa. You have Newin's Diarmuid Barnes starting there in the front row, and Lockmore's Brian Gleeson is among the substitutes there. On Saturday evening, there's a big game in the Tipperary Cup. It's a repeat of last year's Tipperary Cup final as Tumal Burris take on St. Michael's, and in the quarter-final of the Tipperary Cup, and kick-off even in Cook Park on Saturday evening is at 7:00. More Tipperary Cup action on Sunday at 12 noon. St. Michael's B hosts Clonmel Celtic, while at 3pm it's Cashel Town welcoming Peak Villa to Palmershill. There's also one game in the TSDL Premier League on Sunday. Clonmel Town host Kerr Park. 12 noon start to that one on Sunday, and some games in the north of the county as well. Cup games, no NTNDL Premier Division games this weekend. And in the world of ladies football, the Tipperary senior ladies football team are in league action on Sunday at 1:00 in Clonmel Sportsfield. David Power's side take on Donegal, and they do have an outside chance of promotion from Division 2, but they'll need to beat Donegal and they'll need to beat Tyrone in their last game to have any chance at promotion. So that all starts at 1pm in Clonmel Sportsfield on Sunday. We'll have updates from that game for you on Tip FM on Sunday afternoon. But now at this time of a Friday evening on Across the Line, it's time to talk dogs with Barry Drake.
Tip FM's Greyhound News Update with Limerick Greyhound Stadium. Enjoy top-class racing at the Con and Annie Kirby Memorial each Saturday night and check out their dinner or group packages.
There's plenty of fantastic greyhound racing to look forward to over the course of the weekend, all starting tonight there at the Clonmel Greyhound Stadium. Getting underway there at 7:31. The feature race in the card tonight is the AOA 1 contest, due off at 18 minutes past 9. That's race number 7 on the programme. And trap number 4 here looks like it should deliver a big performance. Dangan Connor, who's trained down there in Dungarvan in County Waterford by Adam Dunford. This greyhound has won 22 times, has been a tremendous servant for Connections, owned by Michael Croke and Carmel Croke. And the informed tracker, of course, who was a 28.79 winner around Dundalk last time, looks capable of making a bold bid from the front and should go very well. Also keep an eye on trap number 1, Emer's Anne, who's won 2 of its 5 career starts. A nice sort for trainer Emer Dunn. Back-to-back winning performances around Clonmel the last twice, winning in 28.79 and last time 28.78. Certainly looks capable of going very close there for its talented young trainer. Moving on further afield and switching our attentions to Thurles on Saturday, because they will get underway at the earlier start time of 10:32 on Saturday morning, of course, live on the SIS racing stream there. And in terms of predicting a winner, we're going to have a look at race number 5. This is an A5 contest, and Enchanted Diva caught my eye when winning last time at lower level, of course. This one for Kim Taylor in Templemore. And that was a nice performance when winning in 29.69. A reproduction of that should see it go very close. The obvious danger there in 4, Kelsey's Rose for Owen Conway, making the trip up there from County Wexford. So just remember, of course, earlier start time on Saturday morning there, 10:32 at Thurles Greyhound Stadium. Back to action at Clonmel on Sunday night, of course. They're first due off there at 4 minutes past 6 there every Sunday night. Always a real good card. Slaney Side Pro was just touched off last time for the Thurles Kennel of Derek Keogh. It's all about early speed and looks sure to deliver another big performance there. Might be able to bounce out in front and lead all the way there in race number 3. It certainly does look like a good winning opportunity. Also keep an eye on Minor Mac, who's back drawn on the fence, of course, a previous 28.74 winner when drawn on the inside of the track. Had a couple of tricky draws in recent outings. It's a good contest now, but Mary O'Connor's exciting August puppy looks capable of returning to winning form and is certainly one to watch there in the coming weeks. Elsewhere on the card on Sunday night in Clonmel, Emer's Rex looks sure to go very well in race number 7 and finished second last time, but caught the eye in defeat. Well drawn on the inside of the track and a big run is expected. Keep an eye on Mustang Fashion out in 6 as well, who's won its last 2 for Stephen Burke and Darren Holmes, with tricky enough draw out wide and will need to flash the boxes. Slaney Side Best for Derek Keogh is another one that should be in the picture. So plenty of real good racing action to look forward to over the course of the next couple of days in Tipperary. And speaking of Tipperary interest in Shelbourne Park on Saturday night, of course. Looking forward to round 2 of the Shelbourne Park Bookmakers Easter Cup with €30,000 to the winner. Callaway 5 should run well in the opening heat for new in trainer Owen McKenna. That was a top class performance and winning in 29.47 last time. McKenna is doubly represented, of course, because Callaway Kenny-Gar runs in trap number 3. All eyes will be on Lenny's Tank, who will start as favourite, running from trap number 6 for Paul Hennessy. We spoke about Lemon Orla last week. She was a 6-1 winner for Cork trainer Tom O'Neill, and another big run expected there in race number 5. All eyes, of course, will be on Droopy's Kathleen for Kildare trainer Robert Gleeson, of course, owned by Alan Dubbs, and top flat jockey Dylan Brown McMonigal. 29.31 winning performance last Saturday night. It really was a performance of the very highest order, and of course she's anti-post favourite now for outright glory. Tipperary trainer Michael O'Donovan is doubly represented in the third heat with one Hackney Matty, who was a 29.85 winner last time, and Coosan Pickles, who ran a cracker in the feed, of course, owned by Clement Ryan in County Tipperary. Coosan Pickles gets the nod there, of course. Droopy's faithful, the one to beat there for Daniel O'Reilly down in Castle Island in County Kerry. So it really is a fantastic competition, of course. The opening round delivered a number of spectacular performances, and we're expecting more of the same on Saturday night, of course, and hopefully we'll have a couple of Tipperary finalists in the big decider, of course, next week. Of course, Easter Cup is always one of the standout events on the racing calendar. Also, finally, congratulations to Tipperary trainer David Flanagan, who enjoyed big race success down in Kilkenny Park in Waterford last Saturday night. Blackstone Cola winning the €5,000 to the winner, Daisha Plastering Open Novice 7:30 final. David Flanagan is enjoying a great run and he's a trainer to watch going forward.
And many thanks as always to Barry Drake there for giving us a comprehensive rundown on what's happening in the world of greyhound racing, both here in Tipperary and further afield this weekend. Well, that's just about all we got time for this week's edition of the show, all in association with the Premier Credit Union in Thurles. A reminder, 2 live games on Tip FM this weekend. We'll have live commentary of Tip versus Kilkenny on Saturday evening at 7 o'clock in Thurles. That is with thanks to Casey Tiles and Wooden Floors and Care. And then on Sunday at 1 o'clock in Thurles, it is Tipperary against Waterford in the National Football League. And our commentary on that one is with thanks to John Kennedy Motors in Clonmel. I will be back on air tomorrow evening in FBD Semple Stadium from 7 o'clock. So until then, have a good Friday evening, enjoy the nice weather, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. It's bye for now.